I thought.
That should be me.
Welcome to Sideline2Baseline with your host MB and K Lou, and we got the boys in the building. Country Road Tate Mahomes, Double A in the building, and the Haven gracing us with his presence tonight. What's going on?
Hey,
DeHaven, what jersey is that, man? What you got over there?
Yeah, what's
Arizona Cardinals jersey? Is that
yeah,
Nah.
looks like is that the Giants alternative? That red
Nah.
Man,
Got
San
the 49ers.
Francisco must won, boy. You smiling from ear to ear, boy. Look at you, man. Look at you, man. What number is that? I can't see the number.
It's Jimmy Garoppolo. It's number
Oh, you rocking Jimmy? No. Oh my God.
All the
Boy,
way.
Now, you're not a bandwagon 49ers fan, but you're a bandwagon Jimmy G. Come on, man. Are you serious? Come on, man. I bet you got a Trey jersey in the back room somewhere, too, man. Huh?
If Jimmy plays bad next Sunday against Atlanta, I'll break out my Trey
Oh,
jersey.
no, man. You was trying to get rid of him this season.
Say it ain't
Golly.
so.
Say it ain't so.
He
Say it
showed
ain't
me
so.
something in overtime yesterday, 6 for 6.
He
in
showed you
overtime.
something, huh? You a believer, man?
I ain't say all that. Well, this week I am.
And the funniest thing though, when you were bad mouthing him, he had like 2 or 3 great weeks in a row, and I couldn't understand it.
Oh, Shanahan's got his system's stale. His message is not getting through. Oh.
Yeah. It was bad. Good Lord.
Did you have a recorder, Jason? You recorded that?
He sounds just like him.
Well,
Go ahead, Dave. You know what? Let's go NFL. He's a problem. What you got, David?
You know I got George Kittle. 13 catches, 151 yards, a touchdown. He just put the team on his back yesterday. I mean, he wasn't going to let us lose. And it was an ebb to flow. We missed a field goal at the end of the game that we could have won. Cincinnati came down and scored the field goal, and he just kept throwing to Kittle. It was amazing. I mean, he the last 2 weeks Kittle's been balling. Last week he was 9 for 181 and 2 touchdowns. So I'm gonna go with George Kittle, the people's tight end.
Boy, George Kittle, man, he's a problem. Good Lord.
Y'all might not want us in the playoffs. Y'all might not want us in the playoffs.
Oh, boy, now you talking about playoffs?
Playoffs.
You got your chest poked out over there, man.
You know it's once every 20. It's once every 20 years when Cincinnati and the 49ers are relevant in the playoffs. When you guys see that matchup.
Oh yeah.
That's a past Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah.
Hey, Country Road, take me home, man. What you got? He's a problem.
Oh, right quick. Hey, DeHaven, on Instagram, is there like a certain amount of time before you can block him again? Like, did they make you wait like a week? I don't know. But it was gonna be George Kittle, but Homer down there kind of got him for me. But
you know that.
My backup, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, my thing about Patrick is he kind of reminds me of me, minus all the success. He just he just coasts and everybody says he can't do it. Oh, has he lost his touch? Is he falling off? And then I don't know, he's just the best ever. So, it just the way they dismantled the Raiders, a team that has traditionally given them problems. It just seems like they always quite had Kansas City's number. Even when they didn't beat them, they almost did just about every game. And he just looks like he's kind of settled down. And, even not even the stats, just the way that he never once looked nervous or pressured. And they were blitzing him pretty heavy. For me, man, it's getting that time of year. You can go ahead and lock me in just about every week the rest of the year. Mahomes, he's a problem.
Ooh, boy. Well, I think you breaking Cam hard. It used to be Cam.
Who? Oh, I'm sorry. I've been following DA a lot, Double A. I'm sorry, DeHaven a lot. So I'm just, I feel like, once they have a bad game, I don't even know who you're talking about.
Memory problems.
Yeah. K. Lou, baby, who you got, man? He's a problem.
Hey, look, man, this gonna come out of left field. I generally choose winners, but he reminded me of myself a little bit, man, at Duke, man. MB appreciate this, the Haven appreciate it because they like clowning my boys. But CJ Mosley, man, 11 tackles, 6 assists, 17 total tackles, and got blue eye. But you guys don't understand because you ain't been in horrible systems like that in programs. It takes way more to be locked in and focused and still trying to play every snap. When you look at that scoreboard, it ain't never going your way than it is when you know you got a chance to win. Trust me, been on both sides of the fence, they are way different.
But if I didn't know C.J. Mosley was a good linebacker, I'd say, man, he was the weakest lead. He's had so many tackles. They come in. But I know better than that.
Right.
No doubt, man. C.J. Mosley, he's a problem. Double
He got
what you
paid,
got,
too.
baby?
I gotta say, one of Miami's own, Mr. Dalvin Cook, playing with a separated shoulder, taking it to the Steelers. 27
You really
rushes.
gonna do that, Double A?
That's Luther's boy, man. He
They
set
one
him
of
up.
Miami's own. He really did that.
He's from the city of Miami. Say that.
I
City
know
of
what
Miami.
he's saying, but I don't care about that. Y'all don't. Jason, you hear him right now?
What
That's
you
a
Everything.
Florida State running
Everything
back,
is
and they
Miami.
saying Miami's own.
Miami's own, man.
Yeah.
He's showing
Y'all
time.
not
He's
allowed
showing
to
love
do
for the
that.
305, man.
He wanted to go to the Canes. He didn't want to go to Florida State. They wouldn't take Luther's call.
Well,
You
you
want it?
yeah.
Where'd he
that's not
go?
true.
You know how
That's
y'all
not
do,
true.
man.
That's not
He
true?
was a 5-star.
No, that's
Y'all
not
don't
true.
want them. MB say
That-
y'all only want
That's-
ones, twos.
That's not
They'll
true.
develop them.
That's not
They'll
true.
develop their own.
That's not a true statement.
That's not
We
true.
definitely want him.
Hold on. You hear that? He's getting ready for that resume. That's not a true statement. Listen, I never stated that we wanted. He's always getting diplomatic.
You say
Nah,
what?
he's talking about Cook. He's not talking about that.
I know, but the way he's like got ahead, he got politically ahead of that 5-star statement real quick. MB, like he must be prepping for a role on staff. That's not true. Listen, we believe very heavily in the rivals' doctrine.
Hey, unfortunately, Dalvin Cook, he wasn't a 5-star. Actually, he had Joseph Yerby was on the same thing, and Yerby had more recognition than Dalvin Cook.
They were on the same team.
Same team. That Miami Central team, the state championship team, they had some ballers on that team, man.
MB, listen, which one?
Yeah, I know, right?
You talking about Miami Central State Championship team?
Oh, I know. They got so many, right? My boy
They come every year.
So and they there this year. Going against Merritt Island. They doing it again this year. I mean, they have. But he was a problem.
That's actually a good story. Roland Smith's going against his college roommate, Hurley Brown's the coach at Merritt Island.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Merritt Island,
I
forgot.
forgot.
It's a tiny place.
Yeah, man.
Merritt Island.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like 6 people live there.
Hey, they've consistently through the years played great football there too.
Yeah.
Hey, 5
That's right.
on the high school team.
Yeah.
Hey, that's right near where old Chris Collinsworth went, right? Titusville High.
Well,
Everybody looking at me like I'm
south of there.
Oh.
I got you.
Merritt Island south of Titusville.
Yeah.
And MB's old teammate Darren Smith won a state championship too the other night. Chaminade won.
That's down in Miami too.
That's South Florida, yeah.
Hollywood,
in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. Yeah, he's
y'all on the Chamber of Commerce there?
Huh?
Are y'all on the Chamber of Commerce?
They need to own the city, man. Like if anything having to do with athletics, like that's just the real life truth around them, man.
We all we had was football. We didn't have NBA. We didn't have baseball. That was all we had growing up.
Nah, hold on now. Y'all got plenty of baseball.
Miami
now.
Heat?
Not them. We
need to get our boy back on. LB, he'll tell him it's plenty of baseball around there.
Oh yeah. My man, coach. No, he was saying. I guess are you talking about professional sports though at the time?
Yeah, growing up, that's all we had. All we had was the Dolphins and the Canes,
Hurricanes,
and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he talking about. So,
okay. I was like, what?
The Heat. When did the Heat start getting relevant? Then they weren't good back in the day.
They didn't start till 88, 89.
It's an exception because Ronnie Cycling was early on. Probably what?
89.
Did he start out there?
Yeah, he started up.
He didn't start his career, but I'm saying.
Yeah, he was part of the.
No, he was drafted by the Heat.
Yeah,
the first team.
Him and Sherman Douglas were on that team together.
Right. Yeah. So y'all are actually, notable early. And I remember, down here with the Magic.
They came in together.
That used to be like a rivalry because both teams were actually good all the time.
Yep.
And Shaq actually, if you ever hear him talk about it, he'll talk about how he used to kill running cycling. He was scared of
Mhm.
So yeah, like those were always like kind of like a little kind of college type atmosphere games, man.
Yeah,
Right.
you had that rivalry, and then you had the Heat in Charlotte because you had
Right,
morning up there
right when he left.
with LJ.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
grandmama.
grandmama.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an awesome. But I'm telling you, my he's a problem for NFL, man. All y'all offensive. Well, no, K. Lou, we going to linebacker stick together, man. Defense. I'm going with man Myles Garrett. All right, he only had
Wow.
3 tackles, right? No assists. But hey, he had what defensive players probably consider the best play in defensive play: a sack, calls fumble. Hey, he had it. Defensive player, sack, calls fumble, scoop and score.
Scoop and score, baby.
Scoop and
Yes,
score,
sir.
pick. I mean, take it to the house, man. Help the Browns squeeze out a victory 24-22 against the Ravens, even though Lamar Jackson got hurt. But hey, a win is a win in that division, man. We'll get it done. So, hey, Myles Garrett, he's a problem.
That backup from Baltimore wasn't that bad. I mean, he had turnover
Exactly.
issues, but he threw for like 270 yards.
Exactly.
Who
He
is
ran
it?
like another
Good,
50.
Who is it?
Huntley he's from Utah or something like that.
Yeah, Huntley.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
Brett Hundley?
No, I don't think it was Brett. Was it Brett Huntley?
No, it's not Brett
I don't
Huntley.
think it was Brett Huntley. It was a different Huntley.
Yeah, not the one from UCLA. He went to Utah. I think he's from South Florida too.
I never heard, but the announcer called that play, Mike, that what Myles Garrett had, that's a grand slam, is what Warren Sapp confirmed it. I never heard that before.
Yep, you get the sack, you get the calls fumble, all right, and you scoop and score, baby. It's on. It's on like butter. And then he's a problem for college, man. He's a problem. Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I mean, Heisman got some hardware this weekend. Got the Heisman, got the David O'Brien, got the Maxwell Player of the Year. I mean, that Heisman, man, he got it done, man. Back to back. I guess one of 5 schools that had back to back consecutive Heisman winners. You know, but I want to get y'all thoughts on that. Like, first of all, did they get it right, K. Lou? I know. Did they get it right?
No, you know, come on. I was a Stroud guy, man. I mean, he had a game where he almost pitched a perfect, game, man. I really think obviously, because of Alabama's success, it's hard to turn them down. We always kind of think the Heisman is not necessarily the best player, but the best player on the best team. And we know from Tim Tebow that wasn't it either, because I don't think anybody denied Percy Harvin wasn't the best player on their team. But it's crazy. Again, I thought Marcus, Stroud should have got it, didn't. But it's hard for me to go against that pick. I mean, with the success that Alabama had, I mean, I'm not sitting here crying about it. It is what it is.
You went old school, Marcus Stroud's defense.
Oh my! What was his name? The quarterback.
CJ Stroud.
CJ
Stroud.
CJ.
My bad.
CJ.
Okay, Lou, I think if they had to beat Michigan or something like that, had that extra game in the Big Ten championship, he probably would have got it. But Bryce got that extra game on him in the SEC championship, and he balled out.
But I will say that some of the Alabama fans were talking because the defense, that DN, they were saying should have got mentioned.
Michigan won.
I thought like a year like this, and this is what makes me mad at football as a whole, that it's like we didn't even talk about Heisman all year. That's the time where a defensive player should be able to sneak in and win. That's the only thing that I really do hate about it, is that those are the years, because I mean there was no front runners, there was no guys that just set themselves apart from all the others. I mean, even though I'm bragging about Ohio State, when we was doing He's a Problem, we saw about 9 quarterbacks throw for 1,000 yards during them in games. So it wasn't like they were doing a whole lot of special things that we weren't seeing multiple times a week. Like, I mean, I probably say that either one of them only led in passing 1 week, probably a piece. And then all the rest of the guys that we ain't never even heard of was leading.
Do you feel like it's more of a down year? What do we do? Who's the quarterback in Alabama? But
Yeah.
it kind of feels like that.
I think the separation is that we've been talking up and hyping up that Georgia defense and that
Jonathan
Georgia front.
Davis.
He made them look
Uh-oh.
ordinary, and he made that game look easy.
Right.
So,
Get him,
Who was hyping
Jason.
him up? Who was hyping him up?
the Heisman.
No, but who was hyping up the Georgia defense?
Oh, we were. The whole country was. I was.
Don't worry,
I was.
December 31st coming.
But
Back.
Haven, I think you called it out in the sense of far as that game, though. As far as Alabama, as far as your prediction that you thought they could win that game.
Yeah, I just thought the way they could stretch the field, those weapons that they had, that was Georgia's front seven is great, but the secondary was just okay. And I thought Alabama could, you see it every year.
We thought that Georgia had a chance on this show.
For what?
I thought y'all
win
all
that
picked Georgia to
game. What are you
win.
talking about? I'm confused right now. I think we all overwhelmingly chose Alabama to win.
No, you asked DeHaven a question, and DeHaven was saying he broke it down. He brought about the secondary being an issue on the show.
Because I said Alabama.
Yeah.
I thought Alabama was going. Yeah, I thought because the matchup, Alabama's strengths is probably Georgia's defense, not so top strength. The secondary, the linebackers are great, line is great, defensive line is great, but the secondary was the issue, and Alabama can exploit that.
Yeah, but I want to circle back to what you're saying, K-Lou, about you're right. For the most part, at one point you thought that if it was a year for a defensive player to win, this would have been the year, I disagree because Bryce Young started off against Miami on fire. He was getting getting the recognition. Then he kind of cooled down a little bit, and then it was that gap where you looking for a defensive guy. They mentioned the guy from Georgia, Jonathan Davis, right? Get in. He picked up some hardware too. I think he won the Outland, and he won another award as well. And then towards the end, that's when Ohio State started getting started exploding, right? And then CJ, because he's kind of been consistent all year, but he didn't get the hype, because they had that loss against Oregon and whatnot, right? But then they became the number one offense, and then Bryce started showing up even more in certain games, right? He became consistent. And then I think that one game against where Auburn, he led him down the field. That was they looked for those Heisman moments. That was one. And then the table was set because then CJ had that Heisman moment too, right? With the game versus Michigan State,
Right.
So, so I think from a defensive standpoint, you had the guy from Michigan had that game, right? That would put him on the map because I'm kind of dumbfounded that he finished runner-up. But it's showing you the type of year it is, right?
Right.
But I'm dumbfounded that he's a good player, but to me, stat-wise, the guy from Alabama blew him out.
Killed everybody.
And and they play. I know we had to talk about which conference is better, but the SEC was still better. They had 6 teams in the top 25 compared to 4 with the Big Ten. So, and his defense was rated number 2, and this guy had led the nation in tackle for loss and sacks. Willie Anderson.
Right.
Yeah. So I was shocked that Hutchinson finished up and finished ahead of this guy.
Right.
But when you talk about table being set in the Heisman moment, his Heisman moment was against Ohio State in that explosive offense where he had 3 sacks where you man. So when I looked at it, so I look at it the same way with Bryce Young, you talking about CJ, explosive offense, but Bryce Young had that Auburn moment, that Heisman moment versus Auburn, that last drive, and then he followed up with against a great performance. I think he broke the SEC record for passing yards in the SEC championship game against that Georgia defense that up until that point, it was a dominating defense. It's almost I know we talked about Ohio State being like the Chiefs, But then on paper, Georgia was like the Ravens, I guess. You know, the Ravens defense, you know.
We thought they were.
We thought they were. We thought they were.
You think there's a bit of a double standard with that, though? Because from the outside looking in, not being, obviously being a fan of either conference, it feels to me a little bit more like I said, how we were talking about how Bryce Young, down year, who's the quarterback for Alabama. It felt like the defensive player, Anderson for Alabama, flew under the radar because it's almost expected. Like, it almost feels like there should be a dominant defensive player from Alabama. Whereas Michigan, the recency bias, they only finally got back to the stage. It felt like the hype around him was not necessarily player for player. I think everybody in the NFL would draft Anderson over him, but it just felt like Michigan's recent resurgence really kind of put that kid, not that he can't play, but put that kid kind of on the map, and then he broke the single season.
And you had the father-son storyline, which they love. Father was a player.
Yeah. Well, and that was my only time seeing him, but he's now, when you say people would take Anderson over, I don't know. They got this dude projected as number 1 player in the draft.
Wow.
Really?
Hutchinson. Yeah. And overall, I don't know if it's and I say that, golly, because of the success, the 97 as well, the Bosa effect, right? Can I say that?
Right.
Yes, because he's a defensive end. He's a Big Ten. I mean, you can easily, if you want to make a comparison, you can comparison right there. You got to go look too far. I mean, you had 2 guys, 97 from Ohio State, get it done. And this guy's a great player. He gets it done. Had 3 sacks. You can't take away from him. And the guy opposite him, I named top duel. So, I mean, he's number 1 player projected in the draft. I was just surprised when I go head to head, right? And I think about Willie Anderson, think about him. I'm like, man, the numbers don't match up. But when you talk about that Heisman moment, he had his Heisman moment against that vaulted Ohio State offense where he showed up at 3 sacks, and then you like, okay, I see why.
Yeah.
Because he had that, it was that right timing.
Yeah. If Detroit has a number 1 pick, that's a nice story too. Michigan,
not for him.
Don't curse that guy like that.
Yeah. He's like, hey, I'm gonna take that exemption. I'm gonna come back in a year.
Oh man,
he don't want a homecoming.
Speaking of, did they get it right with the Heisman? Did they get it right with the college football playoff? No, we were supposed to talk about this last week and we didn't get it. We got stuck on Miami. But Double A, did they get it right, man, with the 4, with Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, and Cincinnati?
I think so at this point. I know there's a lot of talk for the 8 and to expand it, but all these conferences, all these teams are beating themselves up, and even this 4 I think is sort of a joke because I think we already saw the championship game in the SEC. But we're gonna find out if Michigan has what it takes to break through and give one of these teams a problem. So I don't know who else you put in there. Notre Dame, really?
Ohio State.
DeHaven, I'd like to know what you think after watching Alabama-Georgia, the national championship. You stated, what was that? Do you want to see Georgia playing in the Final Four again after that showing?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I want to see it again.
You want to beat down like that again?
It's going to be a beat down. I think the Georgia-Michigan matchup is going to actually be pretty interesting. I like that matchup, similar teams. But yeah, I think I wouldn't mind seeing Georgia get another shot at Alabama.
See, I would like Georgia-Cincinnati would have been more interesting because I could see a Cincinnati team beating Georgia.
Yes,
really?
Because of what they do offensively. But Michigan gonna have a tough out of it. You know what I mean? Because they can't just line up and throw the football. We know what they're gonna do, and we know that Georgia's good at stopping that. So I think that's a tougher matchup. I didn't want to see Georgia or Michigan, even though Michigan had a day against Ohio State. I still prefer Ohio State in that game against Michigan. And Georgia just, Jason alluded to that for 2 weeks leading up to that game, that Is there a way that Georgia could play themselves out of the whole thing? Is what Jason was focused on the whole time.
They almost did.
And although the score didn't get away from them enough, I felt like they were nowhere close in that game to Haven. And I don't know how you can look at them and reward a team that had no chance.
But it was their first loss.
In an SEC championship game. Like the national championship game, they had no chance in them, and you want to see them again. That's just hard.
Yeah, it was their first loss. I do get concerned about Georgia's quarterback issues. I thought Kirby has always not chosen the best quarterbacks to play. Like he chose Fromm over Justin Fields one year. I thought JT O'Sullivan might have been a better choice. He's not going to come. I guess he's going to stick with Bennett for the semifinal. But I think that's an issue as well. That's the only concern I really have is about Georgia's quarterback. But I don't mind seeing them again because it was their first loss. It was their first loss all the way in the
But look how they lost. Like you're just saying it's a loss, but like they were never in the game, and that doesn't mean anything.
There's not really.
I don't know. I wouldn't say
they
that.
Make.
Go ahead.
There's not really what.
I get what you're saying, but I just think they match up so badly with Alabama. That what adjustments can you make? Run faster, block hard, get bigger. You can't really scheme for the way that they lost. I think they lost really based on personnel and style of play. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to talk smack. Like all jokes aside, like I just don't feel like there is a game plan for Georgia to beat Alabama that Alabama won't recognize and adjust and just match up differently, series by series. Maybe I'm wrong because I don't think Alabama's
Jason,
great
I thought the game plan was the best game plan they could do. And you know what I mean? When you look at what Georgia did, I thought that was awesome. I think that kept the game close early, and then it was over.
But who would you say you rather have? You said Ohio State with two losses?
No, I'm saying
not the Georgia.
Hard
not the
for
Georgia.
me to watch a Georgia team and a Michigan team.
Okay.
Both of them. I ain't leaving Michigan out.
From a standpoint of did Cincinnati earn it and finally get it? Yes. But would anybody in this room pick Cincinnati over Ohio State on a neutral field?
Oh, no.
I would pick them over Georgia.
Maybe.
But nobody else.
Gonna kill us.
I
think they lose to everybody else.
I was just blown away. Georgia never got home. It wasn't even close. That kid sat back there with a clean pocket and picked them apart.
Right.
And that was surprising to me.
Right. Now, when you talk about like adjustments, K-Lou, for me, from a defensive standpoint, like their front four when obvious passing situation, they kept rushing from like a 6 technique, man. Put those dudes in wide nines, let them go. The only way they could try to get so they was because that's the one thing. And then so they had the pressure. I was really surprised. They had the pressure all the time. They had to do 5-man pressure just to try to get any pressure. Because one thing when we was trying to figure out about Alabama and the close games that they played, throughout the season, and we laughed at the fact about the Auburn game about, you throw out the records as a rivalry game. I think you laugh about that. But one thing that showed up is the consistently, what I told you about, they gave up 7 sacks against Auburn. And games that they had that they struggle in, that's one common thread was like trying to keep this guy clean, Bryce Young clean. In the games, LSU got some pressure on him. You know what I'm saying?
A&M hit him.
Right. And
so what does that say about, like you say, in the front 7?
That's what I'm saying. I was really surprised with Georgia, right, because of the lack of pressure.
And allegedly they had a better front 7 than all the people that were
exactly. And I was like, man, that's just it. I was shocked. So I don't know. I was really shocked about the lack of pressure with their front 4, And when I looked at them, it's like they really struggle. I don't know if it's scheme-wise or personnel-wise or the fact the one dude that got in trouble, maybe, I don't know how good of a pass rush he was, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
he was a backer, like a true backer, right? So I don't think
I don't know if it was a backer or what. Haven, you know better, the guy that got in trouble.
I can't remember what.
I thought he was a true backer.
Okay, but anyway,
Will.
K-Lou, so I just say that I was really shocked from a scheme-wise. Put those guys in wide, not go get them, right? Go eat. And I'm really surprised at Georgia lack of pressure, especially.
So seeing Alabama struggle like that multiple times obviously points to us. You know us. That's a weakness. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So then seeing a team that has been touted as this is what we do, not even be able to get home, then it kind of goes back to what Jason was saying kind of all before, like they frauds.
Well, I wouldn't say that, K-Lou. I would say that, like, and I've been saying this all year, styles make matchups. Styles make matchups. The type of style that Georgia has.
But they weren't max protected, MB.
I know, but styles. Georgia, it's like they practice. Georgia's, if you break down their defense, they're strong in the middle with their middle linebacker D, their defensive tackle. Their playmakers are in the middle. I don't know this one guy who got in trouble for rape. I don't know what position he played, but they're strong in the middle.
Linebacker.
Well, versus Alabama, right? We had some sort of Alabama offense, right? And then I told you Alabama defense was number 2 in the conference already, right? I told you that before the game. It was Georgia was number 1. Alabama defense number 2 in the SEC. So it's just the style of them. It's just the style. The style made at me was a perfect storm. Alabama fits well versus Georgia's style. You know.
See, I don't think we can say that though when their weakness is Georgia's strength on defense. Even the style thing you're playing, Alabama's weakness is Georgia's strength. Even within that, meaning like when they drop back, Georgia's supposed to be getting home. And that's my problem. You know, I don't couldn't do well what you do well against somebody that was weak in that department. How weak were they? We saw them 3 weeks struggle against Florida, against Auburn, and against somebody else, Tennessee in the first half, maybe.
And A&M. I mean,
definitely. A&M exposed them first. My bad. They had 1 million sacks.
So that points to 2 things. Did Georgia think they were just better and they could just play their game straight up and play their vanilla D like they've been playing? Because they haven't they hadn't been in the game all year. Alabama's been game tested in multiple games this year and have gone down to the last wire, right? So does Kirby think he's too smart for this and he didn't have to do what everyone else did?
No, I don't think he said that because he even said it, and that's why when he said it, I thought about DeHaven. He even talked about his secondary being an issue. He talked about we got to get pressure on Bryce Young. You know, he even talked about that we're not getting. So I don't think he was like naive to the fact of. I just think as a strength, and I need to check it out. Their pass rush is not as dominant as far as a normal 4-man rush because it's not as dominant as
thought it was.
As thought it was. You know.
Yeah.
If I could say it that way, you know.
David,
Alabama, when you look at Alabama though, that Willie Anderson he leads the nation in sacks. Yeah, so you get an edge, you know, and it's easy to protect somebody up the middle, right? When you got those big Georgia linemen as opposed to, you know, on the edge. It's just styles make matchups. That's all I'm saying, Caleb. And they run the same scheme. So it's not like it's like practice versus practice, good versus good. It's the same defense scheme they face. So they know the ins and out on both of them, you know? Like this Georgia defense is same scheme-wise as Alabama defense. So they know the checks, they know the calls, they know that. So it's to me, it's just a perfect storm.
I don't know if this has been covered. Sorry, I jumped out for a little bit. But it just seemed to me with Georgia playing against Alabama, where was all that creativity? I mean, you know, like I remember against Kentucky, for example, the unbalanced blitzes Georgia would run, or the weird, you know, send a backer dropping in. You know, I know you're dealing with different athletes, and you ain't got a Kentucky tight end is not as dangerous now, but I get all that. But I'm just saying, I mean, DeHaven, I mean, did you see what I saw? I mean, it just seemed like they just stayed in base most of the game. They didn't get any of the cool stuff that they did.
Yeah, I thought Georgia looked, and I think part of it was I wonder if they felt like they were still going to be in the playoffs. So maybe, you know, their defense was a little flat. Like if we lose this, you know, I know they didn't want to lose the game, but I don't think they had the sense of urgency that Alabama had preparation wise. and a lot of different things. I did say that Georgia didn't have a sense of urgency, and Alabama's offensive talent was too strong. And I think going back to double H point, I think they underestimated that. Like we're Georgia, we they haven't had a challenge like that all year. And pressure bust pipe.
So then, what do you?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
You don't know
what you expect from them moving forward? That's what
you think they were sleeping on Alabama?
I'm not saying they didn't have a sense of urgency. I just say definitely not sleeping. I'm sure
they weren't desperate.
They weren't desperate.
They
weren't desperate.
I don't know. They haven't beaten Alabama. So I mean, they haven't beat them.
And that's the national championship.
And that's
you can't have it both ways.
So
oh yes,
I don't,
you can.
I don't know that.
SEC.
Yeah, I don't agree with they were sleeping on. I think they were like, man, we got to win this game, man. Sense of urgency. I don't think it was like a lack of preparation or lack of sense of urgency or taking them for granted because they never beat Alabama since Kirby Smart.
But they didn't. I just think the desperation wasn't there. Like they weren't as creative. The desperation, like Alabama had to have that to have a national championship opportunity. And to your point, K-Lou, going forward, I think if they did end up meeting again, I think it'd be a lot closer game. If they end up meeting again,
it's hard for me to see what y'all be looking at, man.
I don't know.
I think it's gonna be a blowout if they play again. Like it's gonna be real ugly.
Yeah, I think Georgia did a lot just to stay close,
right,
stay within 30 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like think about it. Georgia exploded on offense. How about them apples?
Yeah,
right.
I'll give y'all that. They did explode,
and it was still not close.
Exactly. Well, it was close in the first half.
Right.
And you're right. Georgia offense, they played much better. Quarterback.
They played well enough for them to win. Period.
Exactly.
Did it play well enough for them to win?
Oh, definitely. What? They went out there and did better than they have. That might have been one of their best games of the season.
Well,
that game offensively, just offensively now. Defense let them down. Let's think about it. Like if MB mentioned Baltimore Ravens, that's who you gotta be. Like, and so anything the offense gives you, you just gotta be like, man, that's a plus. We got something to defend. And the offense went right out there, punched Alabama in the mouth, stayed up a little for a hot second, and the defense still couldn't get them off the field.
You think there were some terrible picks by the quarterback in the second half? Well, the game was out of basically.
Well, I said they stayed close to first half.
Right.
The first half.
Okay, so we had
I said the game was close to first half. I mean, but the quarterback, I do agree with K-Lou. He played. He wasn't the problem.
Right.
He wasn't a problem. He made a mistake, right? But he wasn't. He played well enough for them to win. Defensively, Georgia got the stops. They stopped Alabama on the first two drives, but then after that, they couldn't get any more stops
at all.
They could not get any more stops. And what I was looking at, K-Lou, when you look at Georgia, and I need to research this more, pass rush wise. The person that leads them in sack is the middle linebacker, Dean, with 5 sacks.
Oh, wow.
So, and you look at like Styles, that's what I'm saying, Styles make matchup. You look at Michigan, their edge rushers, right? That duo is the top duo in the NC2A, So for me, like, that's where I didn't see Georgia get any edge pressure. I mean, Alabama, they was trying to blitz them to try to generate some pressure, and maybe they're not set up that way, But I don't know.
Haven, this Heisman winner threw for 420 and 3 touchdowns on you. He's still scoring.
I want to see it again. I don't care what y'all say. We want to see it again.
Yeah,
I think Georgia's only hope. Georgia's only hope is going to be to limit possessions.
Yeah, you cannot get behind on them. Period.
Right, Georgia could
you can't play catch up with them.
To catch up.
But see, you can't expect for Georgia's offense to have the same early success. That's the problem.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Because Georgia, the blueprint was Georgia was to run the ball. They need to run the ball, and they did a good job running the ball. They tried to hit the edge, but they can't run the ball consistent on Alabama defense, you know?
And all Alabama do next time is take away that tight end. Georgia's tight end was going, had a
Right.
really
Georgia
good,
tight end was like making
Had
it
a lot
happen.
of success early.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they got away from it.
Yeah.
It didn't even seem like Alabama
not
took it away.
necessarily that, but you start calling putting the safety on the tight end, you take him away.
It didn't really seem like Alabama did that. I mean, because it seemed to me like Alabama played not a whole lot of man. I mean, they played a little bit of man in the red zone, but I mean, Alabama was uncharacteristically kind of zone pressure, or not even blitzing. I don't know. It just seemed to me like Alabama just took away whatever Georgia wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like, they couldn't run the ball against 4 down linemen. They weren't even necessarily blitzing the gaps. It just seemed like defensive tackles were stopping the run every play. You know what I mean? And that forced Georgia, who did not really have a dynamic passing game. They can't push the ball down the field. It just seemed like, I don't know, unless you switch up a lot of jerseys, I don't know how Georgia is going to be able to scheme to beat Alabama, because I don't know that Alabama really pulled any tricks out of their hat and won handily.
Let me put it to you in this perspective. Georgia had the ball for 10 more minutes than Bama, and they had 2 turnovers. Bama,
Wow.
they went through that Georgia defense like it was Swiss cheese. They sliced it up.
Yeah, AK Lou, and the guy that got in trouble, he was an outside linebacker, Adam Anderson. He was leading the teams in sacks with 5 at the time. Potential first
He's
round
still out?
pick.
Okay.
Yeah, potential first round pick, they said, but yeah, he's at the time he was leading the team in sack,
That's a loss.
So with 5, so
And he's not playing in the playoffs, right?
no, he haven't been playing. He got in some trouble mid-season, and
Right. But it's
when
just
was
alleged,
this?
right?
November 18th. Yeah, he ain't gonna play.
That's a tough alleged. He can
You
cancel
don't-
Christmas
you
with
don't
that
do
draft
that.
thing.
You don't,
Hey, I want to throw out there, MB. My he's a problem in college football, baby. You know what time it is. It's free agency already. Quinn Ewers, baby. He's a problem. Ohio State transfer now at Texas.
He's a hook 'em horns.
Or back at Texas. Back at Texas.
Did he get
He was in
one of those
Texas
big
before,
deals?
Jason.
No, that's only the offensive lineman got them.
Now, see,
I thought he got paid already too. He had one of those.
He
big
did.
deals.
He did get paid.
1.4 million, baby. And he taking that with him too.
Yeah, he got paid.
He don't owe them nothing for that, and probably finna get double that because he going back where they wanted him anyway. So
Right.
you know it's gonna be another. And this was what I was telling y'all about when that name Image and Light was gonna come in. Now Texas, I guarantee you he get another 1.4 on top of that. From a used car dealership, Jason.
hey, with the flapping air thing in the parking lot. And he's standing next to it.
Hey, Jason, is that
Hook 'em on.
like DJ played so bad he got paid too? He was in all the commercials at the beginning of the season. I don't know
Man,
if that was such a good thing.
I'm telling you, man, Dr. Pepper right now is like, ooh, who did
They
that?
chose
Who
poorly.
did that?
Somebody in marketing got fired.
Man. Hey,
Well,
y'all see Bo Nix entered the transport portal. Cinderella stories don't matter to him.
Man, was the player there?
Well,
that was shocking.
His job was gone.
What do you mean
after,
Cinderella stories don't matter to him? What do you mean by that, Jason? Jason, yeah?
I think he froze.
He's on that I-95 Wi-Fi.
Yeah, he on that road. He's on that country road.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that. I
Yeah.
want to see what he meant by
Can you hear
that.
me now?
Yeah.
What about now? Am I back?
You're back.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
back.
There you are. Yep.
yeah.
All right. No, what isn't he an Alabama native, like Auburn, lifelong
Yeah.
Auburn fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, his dad played at was a quarterback at Auburn.
Pat
Yeah,
Nix.
yeah. And his first start ever, didn't he beat Oregon week 1 3-4 years ago? And everybody was going nuts. And
Yep.
some
Oh,
guy
that's
comes in.
right.
SEC offensive freshman of the year.
Yeah, and then he's like, "All right, I'll see y'all later."
Hey, took
I
a
got
picture with Cam Newton when Cam beat Alabama.
That's
He was a
what it
little
was.
fella. That's him.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Now he's following in Cam's footsteps, so it lines up. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I got you now. I understand. Oh man.
But I think it's like 4 or 5 quarterbacks, notable quarterbacks that are moving.
Yeah, USC's starting
right.
quarterback just entered the portal. Slovis, Kelvin Slovis.
Yeah.
Did the guy from Oklahoma go with Lincoln? Caleb, the Williams kid?
Nah, he didn't say anything yet.
Okay. I know Rattler entered the portal.
Yeah, Rattler entered, but Caleb Williams, he haven't made a decision he haven't declared.
And guys, let's face it, even old Dabo Swinney said that, he fought against it for some years, but this is sign of the times. You got holes to fill. Why? Because your kid's leaving, so you got to go back in there to replace them.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me. I love it. I am not like a hater of the transfer portal. I love it. And I just love to see teams like a Michigan State. I didn't realize this. I read an article about a week ago, maybe 2. 16 players out of transfer portal, LB. That's why Michigan State got put back on the map.
Yeah,
baby.
but Mel Tucker took advantage of it. Yeah.
Over one season.
Right.
And got paid $95 million for it, wasn't it?
That was the thing they said about Manny Diaz. He actually did good with the transfer portal. He just didn't like the recruit. But he was good once you got in the portal. He could figure out who was who. He had
Where
good
did those?
stats.
It didn't help him out too much.
I know.
Where those kids come from? Because if you already had one shot at a choice, and your second shot is Michigan State, I don't understand where these kids come from.
No, well, he did what MB talks about. He wasn't caring about the stars no more. Now he looking at older guys that were proven, that were doing it not necessarily all the time on even a bigger level, but may have been a backup that just wasn't getting no time because the guy in front of you better. You know what I mean? Just like these quarterbacks. Like, why would Quinn Ewers leave?
Right.
Because CJ Stroud's in front of him. He's crazy if he don't go. So it's more that than you really want to admit to that's going on. Jason, just think of Clemson. Just 5 years ago, y'all were reloading. Guy go down the middle of the game. We find out the backup might have been better. You know what I'm saying? Now those guys are leaving. So
yeah. Well, I mean,
it's not Michigan State necessarily. He's doing his homework and he's figured out, HBCU, MB, and these guys wouldn't even probably pay attention to Bethune. But Bethune under Coach Jenkins, probably won the MEAC like 5-6 years in a row. And he did it by getting D1 transfers. Like, listen, I was recruiting at the time. Not recruiting, but they were recruiting. They would come to my school and be like, Coach, we just, want to, meet you and talk to you, but we ain't getting none of these kids. Like, we get all our kids from the transfer in, like straight up. He's like, we aren't taking freshmen at all.
Right.
Like, and they literally was killing in HBCU, like killing by just getting transfers. Right.
Yeah, it's definitely like the NFL in the sense of free agency. You could bridge that gap quicker because with the draft per se, right? I mean, it's sometimes just take time developing those younger guys, and you get older guys instant ready to go. So
and you get a guy that's lived away from home for a year or two. So you're gonna get probably a lot more out of a 20-year-old than you are an 18-year-old who's never been away from mom and dad.
And MB's had to do this a lot. You don't have to have the same conversations with those guys. Those guys ready to go. They know how serious it is. They all want to play on Sunday. So they laser focused. They just left a bad situation for themselves personally. So they got everything riding on this. So that's a different kid. And those kids you want. Yeah. You ain't gotta rah-rah those kids and tell them to stay out the club and all that kind of foolishness.
Yeah.
They doing the right stuff.
The biggest thing that you was wondering, because back in the day with the restrictions and stuff like that, when a kid trained, you was kind of like, ooh, what are you getting? Right. Now with the NFL, lifting the transfer rules, right? It's making it accessible for anybody to leave, because it went from the way it started off. You talking about like Bethune-Cookman first start with guys that's getting a lot of those guys that they were getting at the time was like guys that was getting kicked out of school, you know, for the most part, right? Then the transition went from you had a guy rarely would transfer because if you transfer from a school, you had to lose a year, you know? Then it went from, guys are transferring, guys getting kicked out to now the guys who's graduate, they could transfer without penalized. So that the Russell Wilson, right? When he left North Carolina State, went to Wisconsin, right? So you had that grad transfer thing that started happening. Now with the whole guys
free transfer for any reason.
Exactly. Now it's just like it's like going shopping on a shopping spree because now you got guys that's like legitimate guys, like guys who the quarterback who was at Ohio State was the number one player reclassified to get there early, right? Now he's available, so now it's just like it's a shopping spree, man. It's a shopping spree. You get a whole. It's like free agency in the NFL, because one of the rules I think they're trying to talk about is they have this early signing period that's taking place in this month in December. They're actually talking about pushing that back so they can concentrate on this whole transfer
free agency.
Yeah,
too much going on, huh, LB?
Yeah. So they think about pushing that back to January, right? Keep the late signing day in February, right? But then now have a window where now you can focus on that transfer portal, and deal with those guys. So
isn't that mostly to try to prevent some of these coaches taking these jobs too early before the end of the season, though? The national signing period.
You say to prevent what? Yeah. Coaches from taking jobs early?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, I can't hear your question. Say your question again, Jason.
Oh, I'm saying, are they trying to also do that so that they can try to prevent some of these coaches who are taking these jobs too soon, a la Brian Kelly, before their teams even had their bowl games?
Yeah, I mean, it can help, as far as later, because now you're right with that early signing day, you got to get your coach in right away, especially if you want to have success in that early signing period and try to, savage a early signing class, right? It could definitely work that way,
Yeah, but because these coaches got to get in these jobs so soon because they got to hit that recruiting trail, right?
Yeah, exactly. It definitely could play that way, but I don't think in this regard, that's right. That could be a reason, but once these teams make these decisions, man, they trying to go get that guy. They trying to go get him.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Luke Fickle. He made a comment. He said, as far as teams approach him, he said, "Look, you guys got to wait till after the AAC championship game," and he's like, "They don't want to wait no more." You know what I'm saying? They want what they want. They want it now. But you're right though.
I feel like
could that play a part?
They should make that a rule.
Definitely. Huh?
I mean, they're probably going to make this. They may not call it that, but you watch and see if this don't become some sort of Brian Kelly rule, because once it affects a major program in college football, you mean to tell me people at Notre Dame aren't a little hot right now that they feel like, they've had a season taken from them? And then you got, when the transfer portal first came around, everybody was so quick to burn these kids, when they should not be. But, as far as, doing what's best for them. And now, look, you got Brent Venables out. Now it's a little different. We weren't in any sort of major game. That's totally different. But, Brian Kelly, in my opinion, bailing when, you got the CFP selection coming up. Now, Notre Dame didn't have a championship game. That's their own stupid fault. But I feel like you shouldn't even – I don't know. How do you make it a rule that you can't even hire a guy? You know what I mean? I mean, I just feel like they're going to have to do something because –
Was Kelly the first domino? I thought it was Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
Because
it was Lincoln Riley.
Once the first domino went, then you saw the run on all these guys.
Well, Oklahoma didn't really have a shot, so I guess that's why it's not getting the attention.
So Jason, I know. So you feel like if Kelly would have stayed, that would have helped Notre Dame. Notre Dame would got. I do,
MB. Yeah.
I mean, do they deserve it? No, but those golden helmets, they get it done, man. I'm telling you, in that room.
So, K-Lou, you still feel like if he would have stayed, Notre Dame would have leapfrogged Cincinnati to get in?
No, I'm not saying that anymore. But what I'm saying is it would have been a tougher argument in there, but they made it real. You can't deny they made it super simple.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's
I
all
believe
I'm saying.
I believe, yeah, I agree with you on that. I believe because they made an announcement when he first took it. They were saying it didn't affect the voting and stuff because it was a week prior, right? They said, but the lady and the guy said, well, it could affect the next week. You know, I don't know if they quote him about that, but I know they quote him saying it didn't have effect, and you're like, yeah, right. You know,
Yeah.
But you're right though. It made it a whole lot easier, but. Yeah, I didn't think there was. If he stayed, I don't think it would have made a difference. You know,
Jason,
what I don't understand is
MB, Double A. Hey, we got a question from LaFrida. Will pushback of early signing affect athletes who plan to enroll early?
No, and for me, and as far as they pushing it back from December, I don't know all the details of where. Hey, that's my teacher there. Don't. Hey, so, Ms. Granberry, I think they're gonna push it back. They're just talking about pushing it back, but you still have the early sign-up period. So push it back, say the first week in January, so kids will still be able to roll early. It's not gonna affect anything because before they even had it, right? Kids were still enrolling early. You know, they just couldn't sign a national letter of intent. The coaches had to hold their breath and be like, man, we got to get them on campus. And once they take the first class, then it was locked in, you know?
When did they first announce the early signing period? How many years ago?
Huh?
When did this early signing period first go? It's pretty recent, right?
Yeah, right. Just recent. Maybe 2 years ago, maybe, I think.
Is it just 2?
Yeah, 2 that it became official where they could sign a national letter of intent. Like I said, she talked about people could mid-year, whenever school started, they can get in, but they couldn't sign a national letter of intent. Now you're able to lock them in by them signing a national letter of intent. So it's not going to affect that at all. But my whole thing, I don't know what it is like in the 20th. I don't know the early signing date that window they have there. But I'm thinking about them pushing it back. Maybe they push it back first week of January so they still can sign them and lock them into a kid coming, you know? So it's not going to have any effect on that.
What do you think? What do you think was the reasoning for that? I mean, it just seems like
reason for what?
Why do we need it? I mean, did we have any major flips or something that created that?
Trying to lock guys in, exactly what MB said earlier.
Yeah, it's catch-22. You had some flips, right? But then also you had that. So now, because like I said, you got to hold your breath until that kid come on campus, you know, and take the class. Like he was still afraid, still fair game, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go early." Still, I mean, until he takes that first class, I mean, you still holding your breath. Now you had to lock it in, and also the flip side of it, you had some kids that, man, they want to go to Alabama, they want to go there. So now you're giving them a chance to go ahead and lock them in. So it's either way you look at it, it's about locking the kids in.
Yeah, right. They can enroll that spring semester and get started with classes early, theoretically.
Yeah,
if they sign in December, they can start class in January.
What I meant though is was there some major commitments that had flipped that you think led to that? Like how we're saying, the Brian Kelly rule. Who was the major one that created it? Do you think of anybody?
You're talking about this? It's a whole boatload. Say this early sign-up period. Think about this, right? You got the early sign-up period, right? That's now taking place in December. Before then, right? Say if a kid didn't enroll early, because it's not like a majority of them enroll early. You probably got maybe 10 to 15% of your class maybe have the chance to enroll early, right? Now you gotta hold on to a commit from whenever he committed all the way to the first Wednesday of February.
Yep.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
So but you're talking about from whatever time he commit, you got to hold on to him. So you get a lot of changes, right? Where, oh no, dudes got to hold their breath.
A lot of that New Year's temptation.
And a lot of that was because along with that, Jason, came that sophomore offers and freshman offers and kids committing that early. So now you got to hold on to a kid for 2 and 3 years when, that was newer. But all of a sudden they started offering earlier, kids committing earlier, and now you got to fight for them the whole time. And that becomes a lot of and one of the things, because I remember again going back to being a high school coach, I would show the kids on ESPN. If you used to go to the team pages, I don't even know if it's still like this. They would list all of the offers on that page, and I would be like, count them. It's more offers than they got people on their team right now. Like,
It just seems to me like it's, you know, you could accomplish the same thing and just push it to Christmas or something, and you wouldn't have had. I just feel like that was really what made Brian Kelly jump. The need to get a head start on his LSU duties made him abandon his responsibility. You know, because if you start the season, you're agreeing to finish. And so, you know, for him to start a season and not finish it and not coach his bowl game, that's just disgusting to me.
Jason, because you just explained why he had to leave.
I know. But I'm saying, but that's disgusting, though. I mean, you know, a kid doing what he's got to do is what he's doing. But you know what? That's a grown man paid millions of dollars, and those kids are there because they believed him. So it's, for me, it rings different for a coach to do it. It just does. I don't know.
But Jason, even before this early signing period thing became official, you still had the same thing. You still had coaches leaving and not coaching the bowl games. You still had the same thing.
But not that high level of a bowl game.
No, you still had the same thing. You still had coach. Obviously, I mean, with Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame to go LSU, that's definitely not something that's that common, right? But you had coaches, because that's rare for Notre Dame. Never had a coach leave to go to another school. You know?
Yeah. But a coach skipping the Meineke Car Care Bowl and a coach skipping the Rose Bowl are a little different. Is all I'm saying. Yeah, so I feel like you know, that those kids committed to that coach. That coach made millions of dollars. He started that season. You got to finish that season. I don't know. It's that's something that's got to get corrected. I mean, the Oklahoma thing. But
you're damned
but
if you do,
check this out. Like it to me, it's been happening. Obviously, not on the level when you talk about Brian Kelly leaving, but just think about it. Say if it wasn't there. Say it was the signing day was normal like it was in the past, right? You're talking about a January 1st bowl game, right? LSU fired their coach, right? Or they came to agreement with Coach Orgeron in the middle of the season that they're going to part ways. I really doubt they're going to wait until then. You know what I'm saying? They're going to put pressure on them to get them in. Huh?
They definitely ain't doing it, guys. And,
they definitely are gonna still. I think I understand what you said. I just think the scenario still be the same. That they, in that regard, they probably now would have waited a week, so they can see if they get in the playoff. But at some point, they're not gonna go for season over November. They're not gonna go for a month over 6 weeks. They want that guy. He's gonna agree to deal. They're not gonna wait to the bowl game for him to sign. I don't think so.
I mean, that's where I think the NFL's got some things right, though. Like, if you know what I mean, as far as there's time periods where you can't. You know, it just seems to me like you're peeing in the punch bowl at some point. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that's a rule though, Jason.
What's that?
Well,
there's coaches leaving.
Not a rule. What is the tampering period or the? I mean, I know it's for free.
You're talking about free agency.
But I'm talking about the scheduling of it, though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's times when you can do, you know, and I feel like the transfer portal and you're going to have to structure things differently because college football as a whole is going to suffer if it turns into too much of a madhouse, which a couple more years of this and it might. You know what I mean?
Well,
hey, I gotta go, y'all. God bless you. Good night. Galley time.
From a player standpoint, Jason, they got the same. It's the same rules. Like they got the same rules in place. You know, the college football. You know, they got the dead periods. They got the recruiting periods. You know, they don't have anything in place as far as the head coach being able to sign with another team, and the NFL don't have that as well.
The NFL, you can't interview right if you're in the playoffs and stuff like that, right?
Right. That's
I guess maybe that's what I mean.
That's the only rule. Like if you were the current team, based on when you're in the playoff, you got a bye, and you can interview during your bye. If you still don't have a bye, then you got to wait. You know,
Yeah,
So
that's
the only.
jobs and stuff like that the last couple of years.
Or you could be the Jacksonville owner and wait for your coach to do something so you can fire him for a cause. And not pay him $45 million.
So if you think about
don't
it,
want to pay that money. Urban about to get paid. He really made out. That's the best.
Crazy.
He really made out.
So how would this work then? How would it work then? Would it be if you're a top 10 team? If you can't, you know what I mean? Like, what would the equivalent be? I mean, this feels a lot like, a wild card team getting their coach poached. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels very much like that. I mean, Notre Dame was right there on the cusp. I guess the NFL term would be in the hunt. And this very much feels like the Buffalo Bills head coach quitting to go take the it just I don't know how they fix it, but I feel like they're going to need to, and I feel like whatever can kind of historically be remembered as like the Brian Kelly rule.
It's interesting because these bowl games really have no value anymore unless you're in the Final Four because Kelly's not coaching LSU. Mario's not coaching Miami in the bowl game. It's all these these temporary coaches. So
the kids not playing the ball game because
right.
The kids don't play anymore. They won't get hurt in the ball.
They'd rather go to the Senior Bowl or the East-West game because that's where they're going to be. That's where the scouts are at.
And Jason, the only thing that they have that's attempting to do that, what you're talking about, discourage a coach leaving early, is with the buyout. Right now, Chip Kelly, right, with UCLA, he had a buyout like $9 million. I think I forgot the date, but it's I think until January 15th per se, right? And then after January 15th, the buyout go to $0, right? So I think when they put what schools try to do, they'll try to put the language in your buyout, and then they'll put it with the date to try to discourage stuff like that from happening. I guess that's one of the ways, unofficial ways that schools do it. But other than
even that number, that seems like a number that's an afterthought to some of these schools.
Now
$9 million, but we get them a little early. We'll get some recruits.
When you're paying an 18-year-old kid of $1.4 million for his name, image, and likeness, and he ain't ever snapped the ball, it's a whole new world.
But Jason, to your point, other coaches could use that. I mean, when Nick Saban goes to his kid's house and Brian Kelly goes to the house, you could probably say, this guy left the program. Parents will probably look at that as well. Like, didn't commit.
And that's what they say about Saban's commits is they don't flip. It's going to be interesting. There was one that visited Miami this week at IMG. It's going to be interesting to see what he does because, whatever he's telling them, they don't change their mind.
They don't change their mind.
But Jason, I'm gonna go back, and that's a good point they brought up. But that early signing period, I'm telling you, it's hard to hold on to somebody from once the season over with to that signing day. That's a big rule. That's a big plus for coaches because now you're able to secure guys in, get guys locked in. Maybe some guys do 80% of their class get them locked in at that time.
Yeah, but
close that deal.
But I think to me, that seems to be an exclusively beneficial to the program. I don't really see where there's a kid benefit to that. And I feel like every rule in college football needs to be geared towards benefiting the athlete, the student athlete, so, right? I mean, does it not? I mean, is it not? I mean, I know it won't be, but you know what I mean? From a theory standpoint, if we're going to be honest, who get, coach better? I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of where that comes from to me. And it just feels like I just would bet my life if it wasn't for needing to get that head start on the LSU duties, I just feel like Brian Kelly would have waited, and I just feel like they need to change that somehow. I don't know. I don't know too much about the ins and outs.
But look at the other perspective. What if Brian Kelly stays there? These guys sign early, and then he walks out the door. They're bitter because I thought this guy was going to be my coach.
That's why I'm saying don't move that sign early back. Maybe after New Year's. I mean, I don't know. I mean, then you got to. I mean, gosh, if a guy quits, then what's he quitting on his national championship team if it's at New Year's? Like, you know what I mean? So I just feel like I don't know, man. It's too soon. I feel like New Year's, in my opinion, is the correct time because I don't think Venables would have left yet. And conversely, I don't know that these other teams would have been in that big of a hurry yet. But, now it's like, no, now. The uncertainty surrounding LSU's program and who was it going to be, and they didn't want to risk their existing commits.
Right.
So
that's what this Final Four did, is it made these other bowl games irrelevant. Bowl season's like a whole nother season now.
Yeah.
See, but Jason, you just brought me a point, but I don't think their LSU situation their commits was already on life support because they made an announcement during the season, right? That they were getting rid of Ogeron.
Yeah.
So if you're a commit from LSU and you still committed, I mean, it's no rush because you're committed because you want to be at LSU, because right now you didn't know who your head coach was.
Right.
What would they need to get Brian in there for? So they needed something.
So, but I'm just saying,
he wasn't the first choice. Don't forget, it was Riley.
Wasn't it Mel? Didn't they ask Mel Tucker too?
I don't know.
But see again, Riley needed to hurry up and get out to USC so he could hurry up and get a head start.
I can see that with Riley, but but you can't. It's the same situation because Riley, they fired their coach in the middle of the season as well. Matter of fact, he was the first one to get fired.
Yeah, he was fired like week 3.
So it's no sense of urgency with the recruits in that regards, because once again, if you committed to USC, you committed because you want to be there. You committed like you don't have a head coach.
But they could have gained. I mean, did they not gain recruits through Lincoln Riley? I mean, there's got to be some kids.
Well, I'm just saying, gaining is one thing.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about I'm saying when you bring up your point, I'm like, it's not a rush because in that regards, because to try to keep your recruits, right? It's not, they didn't have that issue. It's more a rush to try to gain more recruits,
Right, that's what I mean. But, either way, I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll never happen again. It'll be a moot point, but it just
it's definitely going to keep happening.
There's no reason it won't.
I mean, but like I said, it's rare that it happens. Like you got major guys at major programs, making what looked like a lateral move, if you per se, That's.
Are you talking about Lincoln Riley being scared of the SEC? That's what you mean?
Nah, I don't know, man. He got what 10 million reasons to leave. I guess
he could care less what you think.
Oh man, I don't know.
$6 million house they brought and paid off his whole house. I don't know. I think this one may be about the Benjamins, Because you can call me scared. I'm scared. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm going to get. I'm scared.
With my $102 million,
I'm scared. Direct deposit.
Mario got Nike money in Florida. He don't even have to pay state income tax on it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm scared that call me scared. You sticks and stone may break my bones, but your words.
As long as Mario don't got to play Utah every week, we good. Y'all good.
Yeah.
Man. Different conversation.
I don't know, but Jason, I don't know, when you brought up that point, it made me think a little different because they already fired the head coaches. So if the kid's already committed, but you're right, far as now you want to jump on board, though, in a sense to try to gain recruits, and that's what Lincoln did. He flipped some guys that was committed to Oklahoma, but I think those guys was the next class, right? No, some of them was this class.
Miami signed that linebacker out of Hollywood or somewhere that knew that man, he was out the door, but he said, I still want to come to Miami. So he was either excited about who was coming or just where the program was going. So, are they signing for the school or are they signing for the coach? That's the ultimate question,
There's been a few with Clemson that have stuck, but we've lost, I think, 2 defensive recruits to Oklahoma, and it's kind of like a double knife. You know what I mean? Like the kid, you pay a guy millions of bucks, and then he leaves, but then he takes one of your kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's dog eat dog, man.
He took the office furniture with him, man.
Yeah.
He did the old put the stapler in the box on his way out the door thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, before we go, man, what's your thoughts? We got Monday Night Football. Man, what's your thoughts? We got the LA Rams visiting the Arizona Cardinals, man. Who you got, Jason?
I think LA, just from the standpoint of they're desperate. It's although, man, I just saw that Ramsey's on the COVID list. That hurts.
Yeah, Ramsey,
so before I saw
tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, before that, I would have been definitely LA. Now I'm just probably LA because they got to. I mean, I don't want to say their season, but they lose, it's wild card or out of the playoffs, and they ain't gonna be out.
Yeah.
So I think LA is gonna have the urgency, but minus Ramsey, I don't know.
On the DeHaven, I know this is a loaded question for you because you're looking at it from who lose help the 49ers, but what's your call on this game?
Well, we in 6 right now, so we straight. We there. I got
barely.
Back to we. It's one big happy family, thick or thin. You know what I mean?
Well,
win or lose.
Winning cures there. Like the Bible said, love covers a multitude of sin. Winning, man, covers a multitude of hatred.
I got Arizona. I got Arizona MB for the simple fact that I think Arizona's defense is underrated, and a lot of the Rams wins have been against teams that haven't been so hot. Like I think they got back right against Jacksonville last week. They beat Detroit, but a lot of their losses are against good teams.
Right.
So I got Arizona. I like Arizona's defense a whole lot, and like I said, I think the Rams, the strength of schedule so far hasn't been the best.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals as well. Double A, who you got?
I like the Cardinals. I mean, Arizona went in there early in the year. They went into LA and beat them, and I think that shocked a lot of people.
Strength too.
Yeah, I think the other issue is what I see in Stafford is I see him breaking down later in this year. He don't look nearly as sharp and as accurate as he normally is. I think you can see the age and wear and tear is taking a toll on him. And that Rams don't have that running game that they used to have a couple of years back with the Gurleys, and I think he needed that if they're going to go where they thought he was going to take them.
Yeah, Robert Woods going down hurt the Rams too, though. Robert Woods going down.
Robert Woods definitely.
No doubt.
Who'd have ever thought that replacing Robert Woods with Odell Beckham would be a downgrade? Who'd have thought?
Well, OBJ, to his credit, is what his back. He's dealing with some back issues, right?
Always.
It's always something, but he's not the OBJ from New York. And he hasn't been for a long time. So
now, if you ask his dad, it's not back problems; it's quarterback problems.
I like that.
But
different type of back issue,
man. I'm just happy to see DeHaven back in the fold, man. The way that he just embraced that 49ers organization. It's almost like he never left.
It's that first round draft pick is paying. That first round draft pick is paying off so much for you this year, Dave.
That's our fan base. Everybody thinks they're Bill Walsh. That's the thing about Irish fans.
It's a high bar to meet.
Exactly.
What Jason, hopefully that'll trickle down and you get some Carolina love, baby.
No, absolutely not. Nah, hey, it's what have you done for me lately out here?
I'm starting to question Matt Rule. Why they fire Joe Brady like that all of a sudden?
Speaking of that, Joe Brady don't want to come back to college. He said he don't want no part of recruiting. He thinks he's got a future in the NFL.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe San Francisco got a nice little spot open up for him. Offensive coordinator.
We good right
now. Right now.
San Francisco State.
We good. We are good right now.
All right, fellas. Well, hey, man, y'all have a good one. I appreciate y'all coming on. Hey, Jason, be safe on that road, baby.
Hey.
Yeah.
You got it, bro.
Be safe, man.
Later.
Traveling mercies, man. D, appreciate you, man. 49ers. Who the 49ers got this week?
Atlanta Falcons.
The Falcons. That sounds like a win there, man.
That's Matty Ice. Do you see what he did to Carolina?
What did he do? He didn't do it. He didn't do it.
Never get no love, man.
Can't fumble the ball with handoffs, did it?
Old check down Charlie.
Y'all have
ain't
a
gonna
good
do too
one,
well
bro.
against San Francisco.
Later, Mike.
All right, man. Y'all take care. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys tuning in from Sideline to Baseline, man. For K. Lou and MB, man. We're out. Peace.